in case you confused it with Surabaya, Oregon. I don't really buy that no one sees or hears this, but the movie glosses over what happens after Jack gets on the boat. He's got to sneak past these three guys while carrying this giant bag, and he doesn't have the same cover that he did before he gets on the boat.
Roy, Red?
Well, now that they've established these two guys' names, I am pumped! It's Kongin time, motherfuckers! There's something about following that great pounding moment in the score with the words King Kong being shown over a mid-sized ship pulling out of the harbor that is just not as exciting a moment as it should be. It's like, yay, boats, when it should be, yay, a big fucking gorilla. Here's a credit so obscure they could only describe it with a phrase. It's not even capitalized. It's like, instead of using starring for the actors, they used in charge of saying dialogue and making facial expressions, gestures, and emotions.
This was taken in 1943. It's the fog bank you wouldn't look at twice. This is taken from precisely the same camera angle. This picture was taken 2 weeks ago. 35 years later.
Fred spends a lot of time talking about these fog banks, but right after that, he tells the crew there's nothing you can really do with that information. So then he gets Roy to dissect some NASA photos, which suggests there's land and carbon dioxide. And why the f didn't we just start with that anyway?
A bank of fog that doesn't change a wisp in 35 years. Fantastic.
I believe Fred Wilson and I have very different views on what the word fantastic means.
You see, in 1605, Pero Fernando de Quirez was blown south from Tematang.
I see that even though none of you know me, I bought myself some time to go through a history lesson without interruption. You guys on a secret oil discovery mission are super polite.
A strange warning from thy wedding with the creature who touches heaven. Lady, God preserve thee.
I find it odd that people always have to be so cryptic with their messages instead of just writing out, there's a big goddamn monkey on this island that might eat you, and I think there's a giant snake as well.
Look out, there's something out there. About 2 o'clock. Use your glasses.
I know this from my many years as a Princeton paleontologist, because they make you spend a lot of time on boats to sharpen your seafaring skills. Almost as if the movie needed a lovely lady to show up, future Oscar winner Jessica Lange randomly appears out of the clear blue sky on a raft. And yes, there was a mayday call from a ship in the area, but I feel as though it's just as likely you'd stumble upon a school of mermaids.
I guess you'll have to undress her, huh?
Well, it's usual. In case of internal injuries or...
This f***ing guy. But besides that, do they really not have a doctor on this ship? F. Prescott. Also, the social security numbers starting with 557 means Jack should have been born in California, but the place of birth shows Princeton, New Jersey, which means it should start with 135 to 158.
The captain thinks the girl's about to come too.
The captain can't possibly know that, or know that Jack's also about to Oh, you mean she's about to wake up? Carry on.
He was going to put me in a movie he was making in Hong Kong.
The King of Hong Kong, A Fistful of Boredom.
I'm Dwan.
This documentary about legendary poker player Tom Dwan went back way, way too far for my liking. I don't need to know how his parents met or their dealings with King Kong, which is another name for pocket kings, but I digress. The rule of thumb about this kind of thing is, don't tell me about the labor pains, just show me the baby.
I guess it doesn't matter. I'm in no rush.
Just like this movie. Boom!
Harry was showing this film that I refused to watch.
She's about to reveal that the movie he was watching when the yacht exploded was Deep Throat, which means this movie is making a ridiculous, exaggerated description of Harry's climax.
You know, maybe my luck has changed.
The Love Boat soon will be making another run. The Love Boat. As if this movie hasn't already wasted everybody's time at this point, it feels the need to give us this Dwan montage where, and I know this is going to shock you, nothing of importance happens at all. Oh sure, they showed Dwan taking a shower, but we already knew that.
I always wondered how Cortez felt when he first saw the Inca treasure.
It was Pizarro when he died busted, Fred.
F. Prescott would be amazing at 16th century explorer sins.
You know, the all-American girl saved from an exploding yacht by Deep Throat.
The title of the meta-sequel to Deep Throat that unfortunately never got made somehow makes its way into this movie.
After all, you're sticking me for 18% interest, plus the late charges.
Ron, you come ashore with us.
I've examined this scene several times now, and I hate to report to everyone that Jessica Lange's expression changes between this shot and this shot. I've filed a report with the Sin Registry, and we should hear back in 6 to 8 weeks whether this important finding affects a 48-year-old movie. We'll put the system on trial.
That's interesting. We're in a lateral surface current 18 degrees cooler than the air.
Whoa, that is interesting. Oh, what happened? Did I sit in the whole movie in my sleep? No? God damn it. Look, I don't boat often, but that seems a little too shallow of an area to take a chance on the boat not getting damaged. They didn't even know shit about the waters past the fog. And they're just riding this thing up on shore like they've got the biggest dicks on the planet.
All right, everybody, move it out.
This movie wants me to take Charles Grodin seriously as a leader, and I'm not sure if it's the way he walks in those boots or just the Charles Grodin-ness of the whole thing, but I can't take him seriously at all, and do not believe any board of trustees would send him and fucking Odo from Star Trek Deep Space Nine to lead a mission to find more oil.
Hey, Jack, there's a waterfall ahead.
Not pictured in this scene, a clear view to the waterfall she has supposedly seen and will run up to in the next shot. With this score and shots like this, the movie has felt more like a Jessica Simpson music video for the first 30 minutes than a King Kong picture. And yeah, we get to Kong a lot sooner than Peter Jackson ever did, but goddamn, there's a bunch of this kind of bullshit to slog through. At least with Jackson, we had Adrian Brody trying to convince us he was a writer. That was fun.
Just stick close by me, okay?
Yeah, because unarmed paleontologists are great at fighting off giant creatures. This would be like having Ross Geller as your bodyguard. 28 seconds of land porn.
The island is uninhabited.
Of course, drums start playing to prove Fred wrong immediately, but when the movie cuts to the other side of the wall, we find a loud and bustling community that should have stopped Fred from being so short-sighted in the first place. How the did they get inside? When they arrived outside the wall, there didn't appear to be any doors. Now the movie is saying they all climbed it, or did they find a maintenance door?
What's he bitching about? You tell?
Only the tone. He's probably telling us we've contaminated their magic.
Yes, I also got strong "you're contaminating our magic" vibe from that tone. I also got a slight hint of disappointment that he never finished med school, but I'm probably reading too much of a Northeastern Skull Island inflection in his words.
He wants to make a deal. 6 of them for Dwan.
Jesus. I guess if Dwan is worth 6 of their own people, and since they put a blonde wig on the woman being sacrificed, they should have called this movie Gentle Kongs Prefer Blondes. No one will be seated during the part of the movie where Dwan is inexplicably hanging out on the bridge, smoking a cigarette, and reading it. Is that a choose-your-own-adventure book? The natives are taking the time to kidnap Dwan to give her as a sacrifice to Kong, but why? If they've always given Kong sacrifices from their own tribe, what is it about Dwan that they think Kong will like better? Or at all. And you could argue then they wouldn't have to sacrifice one of their own, but they were willing to give the Petrox crew 6 of their own women to get Dwan.
This is no longer the 19th century. You can't just walk in and grab their island.
Oh wait, he's being serious.
Even an environmental rapist like you, even you wouldn't be asshole enough to wipe out a unique new species of animal.
Oh, wait, he's being serious.
Fred, the kids had burned every Petrox gas station from Maine to California.
Conveniently leaving stations in roughly 35 states untouched.
It's not a good night for Aries like you.
How did you know I was an Aries?
When you go back to Jack's file, it shows his birth date is June 28, which means he is a Cancer. There's probably a double meaning in that, but I will refrain from making much ado about nothing.
All right, so I asked Fred Wilson. He knows everything about you.
That should have tipped Jack off that she's wrong about him being an Aries, since Fred is wrong about goddamn everything. Now I'm beginning to believe Jack doesn't even know what his zodiac sign is.
You'll disappoint me if you're here when I get back.
What do you mean you'll be disappointed?
Well, I was hoping you'd be waiting for me in your cabin.
If she didn't get kidnapped a few seconds after Jack leaves, that goddamn line would have worked. This kidnapping is so easy that I wonder what the plan was if Dwan wasn't standing right by the water all alone with no witnesses. Starting to feel super bad for all the cooks on this ship that go to the trouble of making all these sandwiches that no one can fucking finish. How hard is it to finish a fucking sandwich? Oh, f you. Did anyone see what happened when Dwan got taken? These guys definitely didn't leave a bracelet behind. I'll have a jury look at Exhibit A, the kidnapping, where we don't see a bracelet coming off a wrist at any point and none is left behind on the platform when they leave. It might be behind the box and we can't see it, but that would require the bracelet to have flown up in the air and landed on the other side, and I demand accuracy when movies leave convenient bracelets behind for the heroes to discover so they can advance the plot. Why can't the people that were already standing by the latch be the ones to open the gates instead of having this other latch crew come up and take care of it? This doesn't seem like a very efficient sacrificial ceremony, and damn it, I like my sacrificial ceremonies to be efficient. Random shot of Dwan dreamily staring at Monkey Mask's crotch is random. There is a very large gap of time between when the gates are open and when they close again after sticking Dwan up in the sacrificial area. Why doesn't Kong just know to show up and get past the open gates and take out all of the island natives? And why did they not think this is a possibility? They build the walls. They're clearly not too interested in being up close and personal with Kong. I'm glad we get the entire footage of this pole locking the door. That's something I definitely didn't want to miss in a movie with 0 Kongs in it so far. It takes 53 minutes for this movie to finally King of King Kong my lang-a-long ling-long. Also, if he's knocking down these trees when he comes through here to get to the sacrifice altar, then how are there still any fucking trees here? If I'm interpreting this correctly, it sounds like Kong wanted Meryl Streep instead. More exciting pole action! King Kong, you spoil me.
Just fell in a goddamn hole.
No, you didn't.
You mean I didn't? Look at me.
You're not in a hole.
That's a footprint.
Oh, well, then that was definitely a good time to get real nitpicky about what we're calling this giant indentation on the ground. Also, for some reason, there's only one and not several, as there should be, since Kong presumably comes and collects sacrifices from here all the time.
That footprint I fell into measured out at 6 feet 4 inches. How high would that make him?
Multiply by about 8, I guess.
I know this because as a sea captain, I'm a master of estimating footprint mathematics to project height in land mammals.
I don't know, Carnahan. God, I'm as ignorant as you are about this. Quit asking me so many dumb questions, will you?
Giving Carnahan shit for asking you questions when you've been spouting out ape and island native shit this entire movie like it was fact. This baby's It's Cold Outside's for all the sometime.
When I was 10 years old, they took me up in the Empire State Building and I got sick in the elevator.
Hoping an ape knows what any of those 22 words mean. Also, mentioning the New York City building that plays an important part in the original King Kong, but is tossed aside for the World Trade Center in this movie. A little too much wink-winking at the audience, who doesn't give two shits about New York City architecture for my tastes. Is that static in King Kong's eyes?
I bet you're an Aries, aren't you?
If you're just going to start guessing everyone is an Aries, Dwan, then I'm starting to seriously doubt your horoscopic abilities. How I used to stare at my Princess Leia chain bikini action figure somehow makes its way into this movie. Watching people shower. Also, Kong takes Dwan out of the waterfall even though she's still dirty. Yeah, he lets her jump in the pond, but why not do that in the first place? Or at least keep her under the waterfall a bit longer. Dwan somehow survives all of this rancid ape breath, even though, to be fair, it probably smells about as well as the ship full of men did. Also, as Kong blow dries Dwan and she lies back and sighs, I'm wondering, is this movie saying what I think it's saying? Also, I don't know if it was purposeful that this scene of an ape most definitely getting an erection cuts to a scene of Charles Grodin making the same face all normal people in the audience were making, but it's fucking brilliant. I'm still sitting the ape erection bullshit because gross, but yeah, kind of brilliant.
I did tell you, you shouldn't have radioed New York. You were bringing in the big one.
A big one.
At the beginning of this movie, I thought it's interesting they changed the story to an expedition for a big oil company hoping to get an edge over their competitors, instead of it just being a movie crew wanting to film something on a mysterious island. But then we have the movie end up being about there being no usable oil, and the big oil company decides they could actually sell more oil if they had a giant ape promoting it, which makes zero f***ing sense. And now I wish this had just been another movie crew wanting to film something on a mysterious island. The movie will try to have you believe that a 50-foot ape that has been making 6'4" divots in the earth could sneak up on these dumbasses and suddenly appear out of f***ing nowhere. No, my green screen ghost will haunt you! Movie pretends like one of Kong's fingers wouldn't be able to find Jack and crush him against the rock wall inside the crevice he's hiding in. Hell, at least 2 fingers look like they could fit inside that hole, and that's something that doesn't sound perverted or dirty at all. The effects in this movie are pretty good for 1976, mainly when it comes to the ape suit. But this keyed-in shot of Jack in the rock looks like Jeff Bridges took a trip to Tron 6 years too early. This motherfucker looks like he's trapped in CGI carbonite.
Tell Wilson I'm going on!
Because there are these convenient vines here that will hold both of our weights and are convenient.
You think I'm crazy?
Taking advice on whether or not you're sane from MODOK of My Best Friend is a Vampire. With Kong leaving all these giant footprints, how was tracking him down as hard as they were making it out? The f*** do you need radar for when you have these? They fired guns in the air the previous night, and the island natives just never came back? How exactly did that work? The movie now tries to make us believe that Fred would do any of this work on his own, instead of just hanging out at the beach, barking orders.
Well said!
A movie that takes place mostly on an island and has a character named Wilson does not include a Tom Hanks performance.
Where's the other?
Bone gives the universal sign for fell off a log hundreds of feet to their deaths. The movie is trying to make me believe Kong is horny, when it's more like the people operating the mechanical hands are horny. A minute ago, Kong was getting a little touchy-feely with Dwan, and now a giant snake comes into attack. The symbolism isn't lost on me. This is Kong essentially fighting with his giant boner right now. Classic Kong versus Dong. Also, you're probably thinking, oh, Kong is about to fight a giant snake, and that will be awesome. And you would be wrong. Jack and Dwan stand and stare instead of running away, because if I know anymore. Finally, at long last, we now know what the Beatles meant by Rubber Soul.
The radar update.
Monkey plotted 1,800 yards west by northwest, heading 089er. Velocity 2 miles per hour.
This whole movie, people have been looking at this bullshit radar and coming up with very precise coordinates that it doesn't even display on the screen. I mean, this thing drew a crude outline of the island on it like a toddler, throwing away a perfectly usable ladder. If they want Kong to come in and fall in the trap they set for him, then why are they closing the gate back? Maybe they want to make him tired before he fell into the trap, but since no one says one way or another, I'm now asking questions the movie doesn't want me to ask. Considering how easily Kong gets through this wall, it makes you wonder how the wall was still standing when the Petrox crew showed up on the island. Also, I now have to wonder how the island natives built this wall without Kong killing them every chance he got. I suppose they offered sacrifices before they completed the wall, but I don't know how they negotiated that. I guess it's possible they could have built what they could while Kong was away or sleeping, but what protected them when he came back and the wall wasn't finished? Are there caves? And considering that Kong isn't the only giant creature you have to worry about on this island, I'm not too sure about those caves either. You just fucking know Shelob is here. Why did these assholes decide to stand right next to the gate while Kong tries to break it down? Now the island natives show up? What were they waiting for while Fred and crew were digging up their village? All right, guys, how do we lift this ape off the island and onto the ship? Don't worry about that. We'll just cut straight to Kong on the ship and nobody needs to ask questions. Damn, Kong's agony is putting quite a damper on Jack and Dwan's competitive backgammon game. Also, playing backgammon on a ledge like this. Most likely it won't fall over after a giant ape bangs on the sides of his confines. But why take the chance, Jack? Why take the chance?
I'm a star.
Declaring stardom before you've done a goddamn thing.
Coast to coast tour. We open in New York.
Aside from the fact that Oilman Fred has somehow orchestrated a coast-to-coast show with famous ballet dancers and a choreographer only halfway back from Skull Island, how the fuck is this supposed to work? How do you transport this giant ape across the country? How do you find proper venues for him? And you have to feed him and clean up after him. You'll need a giant staff to run this thing. The cost of this show is going to outweigh the profits.
Oh, God. I'm tired of thinking.
Do these two have rooms, or do they spend all their time outside ruminating on their future and playing backgammon?
The ape had the right idea.
The idea to take Dwan against her will and sexually assault her? Is that the idea you're referring to, Jack? Because I f***ing think you are. This scarf pisses me off. So it's cold enough for a scarf, but not a coat or a jacket. But then when Jack goes to kiss Dwan, it slips off and Forrest Gumps its way onto the cargo hold. I'm sad about Kong and worried about my future exploiting an innocent animal for profit. Let's I don't know why I'm laughing so much about this, but I highly doubt the living quarters are right next to the cargo hold. We saw the overhead view, and there appears to be nothing but oil pipes all around Kong's quarters. He might as well show me a dude in Kansas getting thrown out of his bed.
Prepare to flood tank number 4. I'm ordering the ape drowned.
You mean you didn't bring any more chloroform in case he did this very thing? This is an ape you're planning to make millions of dollars with, right? Magnificent. This is the first time we've ever been able to capture someone's silhouette fighting to become independent from their corporeal body. Kong lets Dwan leave. When you realize there's barely 30 minutes left in the movie and that King Kong has spent more time on a boat and less time in New York than Friday the 13th Part 8 Jason Takes Manhattan.
I was wrong when I called this thing a farce. It's a tragedy.
So Jack, who could have just quit while on the boat, decided to wait until opening night to quit, which means we had to sit through 2 fucking scenes of him quitting.
I'm quitting your circus, Fred.
You signed a contract.
I guess Jack was hired as an ape wrangler or some shit, but I have no idea what he supposedly does. What skill did Fred need Jack for? Maybe it's to make sure Kong got fed or something. Who knows?
Go ahead. Except I promise you, you'll never get another booking in your life.
Because an oil magnate has all the power in the Hollywood system. Why didn't they just make this about a fucking movie crew like the other films? If they were really expecting this to be such a huge event, then why didn't they make room for a lot more seating? Why didn't they just have it in Madison Square Garden? Was Godzilla using it to make babies already? I understand why Jack decided to quit out of principle, but why is he now going to go watch the show? If he cares so much about Dwan and Kong, why not stay on until someone else could be hired for the job? You could still donate your paycheck to the ASPCA like you did when you quit. I will say this. The tacky show Fred has envisioned is probably the best part of the movie. It's gloriously ridiculous and prime for disaster, just like an ape show put on by an oil company would be. This bit of satire is super on the nose, but I'll take a send-off for it. How did they even get this crown to stay on him? Have you ever tried to put a hat on a dog? That's an impossible task. They have cops all over this venue keeping people back, but the media is apparently able to run up the stairs and f with one of the stars of the show. Also, these people are way too interested in someone hired as glorified window dressing to the main event. The fact is, Dwan's appearance in this show would not make her a star, and nobody in the media would care. I guess I stand corrected on how they're going to pay for this show. They're going to cut corners. Probably a strong but subtle take on the movie's part, but I'm still going to send how easy it is for Kong to break his chains. Also, considering how easily Kong gets out of this cage, it makes you wonder why he's still in the f***ing cage. All of these assholes see a giant ape destroy a supposedly break-proof cage and barely start to move the other way instead of getting the f*** out of there. Look, I'd be in Jersey by now if even a regular ape got out of its cage. Kong, the ape that makes giant divots in the ground when he steps on it, apparently makes people flop around like fish when he steps on them. He should be, in the immortal words of Vincent Vega, a f***ing gray spot. Most anticlimactic death ever. How did Jack and Dwan not only have time to get to a car, but also get it pulled out and headed toward the exit?
Come on, there's a train coming!
You want to be on the train with all this madness going on? Shit, man. I can't think of a worse place to be during a giant ape attack. Sniff? Sniff? Yes! Yes, this oncoming train contains the woman I love! I got a better intuition than Einstein in Back to the Future when the van full of Libyans shows up a block away and starts barking. This conductor is just now noticing Kong even though he's been visible for the last 30 seconds destroying the train tracks. This stiff f***ing Barbie doll or whatever the f*** Kong is holding while the ADR screams its lungs out. This guy puts on some hard brakes and his motorcycle falls to the ground and then he inexplicably abandons it. I guess he knows that F. Prescott and Dwan need transportation. Did Kong just hide behind a building? Because I think Kong just hid behind a building.
Listen, what's the hurry?
What's the hurry? Did Dwan just ask that fucking question? What the fuck is going on with these characters? Movie puts Kong in the water, but movie doesn't have Kong fight a shark, and that feels unfortunate.
We don't want to get shot as looters.
Being concerned about being shot for looting instead of crushed to death in the hands of a giant ape.
It's okay. Probably some National Guardsman ran his tank into the powerhouse.
Yes, yes, that is the most likely scenario we can possibly come up with. Two things that look nothing alike somehow look alike enough to Jack and Kong that they provide us with the climax of the film. That's fucking stupid.
Sit tight, I'm gonna make a phone call.
Why not take her with you? God damn it, Jack.
Let him climb to the top of the World Trade Center.
But Kong couldn't even climb the fucking wall back on Skull Island. How's he going to scale the World Trade Center? How does he even know he's going to try to do that when he hasn't shown any climbing ability for the entire movie? Movie suddenly changes into The Omen. Jack somehow comes screaming into the World Trade Center concourse on a stolen bike, and not one asshole from the military blocked his way or asked who he was. Kong climbs up this building without dropping Dwan, and yeah, I'm calling bullshit. Motherfucker got into the building and was able to go all the way up to the observatory in an elevator that should have prevented him from doing so, but sure, the roof door is what's locked. I hear later Kong is going to go up into space and reverse the Earth's spin to turn back time. Wait, hold on. Can we play that again? Holy shit, did Bridges just celebrate Kong murdering other people? This movie is wild. This is really hard and sucks to watch. And I know it's supposed to be. But goddamn you, Dino De Laurentiis, this is really hard and sucks to watch. You're crying, you're crying. The remaining helicopters just fly off before Kong is even dead. It's like they knew he was about to die and just flew off. Kong is invisible for a split second and then magically appears in midair during this fall. Paparazzi. How the f*** did Dwan get down to the concourse so fast? And how did she get through all the military, police, media, and gawkers to be all alone with Kong?
Ape kidnapped? Ape napped?
I had a really rough... I'll pull up to the side and kick your ass out. Man, come on. I had a rough night, and I hate the f***ing Eagles, man.
How do you like this for beachwear?
I think you look like Ryan O'Neal.
Who the hell do you think went through there? Some guy in an ape suit?
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
Benson, if brains were dynamite, you wouldn't have enough to blow your nose.
Ho, ho, ho.
Well, that's a full moon. And it looks like it's just above the horizon to the south. It's magnificent. Normally you expect to see the moon high in the sky.